My name is Amit Kumar Jain, and in this video we will try to understand what is pure functions in JavaScript. So let's begin. So before we understand what is pure function in JavaScript, first we identify why pure functions required. So the core concept behind functional programming is pure functions. So if you don't know about it, you really not able to understand what is functional programming. So without wasting the time, let's start. First, we try to identify the definitions. So the pure function definition says that any function that returns same output for the same input parameters is called pure function. And also every pure function has no side effects. So what is side effect? We will try to understand in very few minutes. First, we will try to understand what is a function that returns the same output for the same input parameters. Let's see this example. In this example, I have writing a function sum that accepting two values num1 and num2 and returns the sum of these two values. Now I am calling this function and passing the output of this to console.log. Now we will see what exactly the output is. So in the right side here we will see the output in console. Now I am just refresh the application and try to find out what is the output. So you will see that the output is nothing but the sum of the past two value is 30, right? Now if I will call this function plenty of times with the same value 10 and 20, the output will be the same. If you will see here, the 6 times you will get the same output because I have called it 6 times. That means this function is pure function. Because this function always return the same output for the same past parameters. So this is the pure function. Let's see another example. In this example, we have created a function named random sum that accepts one argument and returns the sum of this passed number with a random number. Now we will call this function and try to print what will be the output. We called this function 5 times and find out the output. So output will be printed here. So let's run this program again and try to find out the output. Okay, so if you will see, the output is different for each and every time. Why? Because the past number 10 is summed with a random number. So whenever we pass the same parameter, the output will be different. In this case, the function is not a pure function. It is a impure function. Till now, we have seen how to write a pure function. Now, we are moving to the second point, that says a function has no side effects. So, first try to figure out what is side effect. So, definition says a function will not access the memory or variable of outside of the scope, has no side effect. That means a function will not access any global variable or any API call. Not even a function can access any console inside a function. Let's see with the examples. In this example, we have declared a variable I and initialize it with 1. In the next line, we have declared an arrow function. That name is increment, and this function accepts no parameters but increment I with 1. Now we have print the initial value of I, and after that we called increment 3 times, and after calling the increment we have print the value of I. Now what will be the output for all these 4 console? So let's see the output. So here, if you will see, initially I value is 1. So if you will see here, the initial value of I will be printed. After that, we have called the increment function that increments the global variable's value I plus 1. So the next time the I value become 2. Same, when we call the increment again, it will increments the variable I value with 3 and then with 4. So if you will see, the increment function updating the value of I that is not in the scope of this increment function, because this I is declared in a global scope. As the increment function is updating the global scope variable, that means this function has side effect, and this function is not a pure function. Now we will see how we can make this function as a pure function. Let's redefine the increment function. So as you can see, I have comment out the previous increment function and redefine it with the name of increment 2. Previously this function doesn't accept any argument, but currently it is accepting one argument and increment it with 1 and returns it. So in the next line, I have printed the I initial value on the console, and in the next line I have called the increment2 function and passing the value of I and store the new value into the I. After that I console the log. Again I call the increment2 function and pass the I value and stores the updated value in I. And in the fourth times I have called the increment2 function and passed the value of I, but I am not storing the return value. So what will be the output of these four consoles? Just try to figure out. Let's see the output. So if you'll see here, initial value of I is 1. So as we have not called any function here, so the value is of I is nothing but 1. Then we have again called the increment2 function and pass the value of I, that is nothing but 1. So increment function get the value 1 and increment it by 1, so it become 2 and returns 2. That will be stored here in I. So the I value become 2 and then we console it, so we will get the output 2. Again we have called the increment2 function here and now we have passed the I, that is 2. So increment2 function now increments it by 1, that becomes 3. So we will store this 3 in I again and after that we console it. So here I value become 3. Again we call the increment2 function and pass the value of I, that is 3. Now increment function increments the value of I, that is 3 plus 1 is 4. But we have not stored that value in anywhere. So what will be the I value? You can understand it because we have updated the I past value with 1, that becomes 4, that returned by the increment2 function. We have not stored in I again, so I value not be changed. So new I is nothing but 3. So you can see here the global variable I value is not changed. Even the copy of I is passed here and that will be incremented by 1 here, if you'll see. Okay, so the global variable are not impacted until unless we are not reassigned it, like here. Like here. Okay, so this is the pure function. I think you are understand the concept behind it, so I am just repeating it. This function increment2 accepting one variable and increment the past variable with 1 and returns that value. Because it is not directly this function not directly impacting the global variable, that's why it is a pure function. Okay, let's see the example 2. In this example we have declared an array AR and initialized with the value 1 2 3. So array contains 3 elements 1 2 3. In next line we have declared a function named insert that accept the array and an item and push that item into the array. Now we have called this function 3 times and each and every insertion, we have seen the global variable array into the console. So let's see what will be the output. So if you'll see, when we call the insert and console on the and print the console, we have seen that is updating the global scope. But why it has happened? Like before this, when we have seen the example and we have passed the number in increment function, that is not updating the global variable. Then what happened? In this case, why the global array is updating? The reason is array is mutable. So, because of the mutability, the array is mutated when we insert something. So, you can say that the copy is not created when we call a function, either the reference has passed. So, the copy of reference is created in that case. If you not understand this, I will separately created the video for this. Okay. So, in that video, I will explain what is the object reference, primitive data types and all. But here you have to understand that because array is updating after each and every call, so this function is not a pure function. So that is another example of impure function. Now we will make it pure. So let's see how we'll do it. We have commented out the previous function and now we are writing the pure version of this function, right? So if you'll see, I have created another function named insert to passed array and item and returns a new array here. So this new array, the first argument is the entire array that is passed here and the item at the last I have appended. So this is the notation to create a copy of an array, right? So here, and I am returning that. So in first call, what I have done, I have passed this global array that contains 3 item 1, 2, 3 and pass other item is 4 here. Now what will be the output? I have stored in new array 4. So you will see that, and after that I am just printing the value of this one global array and other new global array. So you will see here what will be the output. So let's see. If you will see the first output, here the global array contains only 3 value 1, 2, 3, but other array 2 that is returned by insert 2 function is 1, 2, 3, 4. Purely the global array 1, 2, 3 is not updating by this function, right? So this is a pure function. So pure function creates a copy of past array first and then insert a new item in that and returns it. Okay. Now to understand better, see the second call. So what second call done? Second call pass the updated array 2 and insert the other value 5. In that case, the passed value are 1, 2, 3, 4 and the new value is 5. So it will again create a new array that contains 1, 2, 3 and 4 that is not same as the passed array. Please remember this. And then insert the new value 5. Okay, and returns it. So when it returns it, it will store here array 2. Now array 2 reference is updated and the new array will be referenced by it. Okay. Now again when we print array 1 is not participated in this function, if you'll see this, so array 1 or arrays remains same 1 2 3 here. So you will see that in this console the array 1 remains same but array 2 is updated. Okay. So now we will see the third operation. In that operation array 1 is involved. So this array that contains 1 2 3 is involved, and now we are inserting again 6 in that. You will see the global array will not change and the array 2 is updated. So 1 2 3 and 6 is entered, right? So this reference 1 2 3 5 is not accessible right now because the new array is created that contains 1 2 3 and 6, and that is referenced by this array 2. So this reference become nullified. Okay. So now I think you understand what is the pure function, what is mutability, how we can create a pure function, or how we can convert an impure function to the pure function. Okay, so let's conclude. The pure function is a function that has no side effect, no API call, and not even the console. If you'll see the point 2 and 3, we have not discussed a lot about it. So why we cannot call an API inside a pure function? The reason behind that is that the result of an API call is unpredictable. So you cannot predict what will be the output, right? Because of unpredictability, the API calls are not allowed inside a pure function. Why not the console? What is the problem with the console? There is no problem with the console, but console are not mainly used with pure functions. The reason is the console is a part of window, right? And window is a outside scope of a pure function. So that is a reason. But we can call other things, right? Like math.random. That is also not defined inside the scope, right, of a function, but we can call. So console may provide the inconsistency, like on depend on the call the output will be changed. That is the reason why we are not using the console, right? But that only means we can create the pure function only? No, the impure function is also very much required for the API call. Well, the first reason is the API call. You can call the API, but when we call the API in a function, the difficulty to test is become harder, right? So when we want to test the function, it is become difficult. Also, if you want to access a variable or memory of outside of the scope of any function, then we have to create a impure function. But when we create an impure function, it becomes much more complex than a pure functions. So we can conclude that pure function and impure function both are important in JavaScript, but pure functions are easy to test, less complex in respect of impure function, and straightforward. So better to use a pure function if it is possible. Now we comes to our last slides and want to thank you for your patience and patiently watch this video. Thank you. If you like this video, please click on the like button and share with your friends. If you want to get the same updates from our side, please subscribe it so you will get the notification for each and every updates. Again, I want to thank you all. Namaste.